Energy can't be seen, but it can be felt. Imagine receiving a spark that activates something in you, that starts to release all those external traumas and events in your life, releases them. Imagine a spark that awakens something even more than that, an energy that resides in your spine and opens up yourself to an entire new reality. Imagine a spark that awakens your inner consciousness. 3 sparks, 3 touches of energy. We can describe these in different ways, and it gets very confusing. So we could say, if we say this in English, a touch of life force energy, a touch of chi, a touch of prana. This we can find in many places. This is called laying on of hands, healing through prana, pranic healing, Reiki, Kundalini activation, healing energy. This is Pranapat. Pranapat, a touch of prana. That is for healing. That is for getting back to ground zero. Once we are back at ground zero, feeling awesome, amazing, and balanced, many people, unfortunately, especially when it comes to the slightly more powerful versions of this, they feel so amazing, so at home, so back to themselves. They think this is an awakening. It's just getting back to ground zero. It's amazing, it's awesome, but it's just getting back to ground zero. Through Pranapat, another thing that can be awakened. Some people, it happens completely naturally because the energy is slightly different. And for other people, they have to focus on the different vibration. And this is of the sacred sensual energy. We can call it a form of tantric energy. It's the way I like to call it. We could call it our essence. We can call it our jing. This is an energy, a pure creational energy of arousal within us. Yes, that energy that gets turned on in certain situations, but then it gets turned off. This can be turned on and this can flow through us. And it can make us feel alive and amazing. And there are people that feel this and feel the prana, and they say, I am on my Kundalini awakening journey, or I have awoken. That's not awakening. That is activating the basic internal energies. It's amazing, but it's the internal basic energies. Then we get to the second level. Once we've healed, once we've gone through that, once we've let go of everything, and we need to let go of everything because otherwise we will be pushed too far in the next section. And people get pushed too far in the first section because people who do Pranapat, it's all based on their ego, the people that do it, and they have to make people move, and people get pushed too far for what they're ready, because they use the excuse that energy is intelligent, and therefore whatever I give a facilitator, whatever I give to the other person, the energy is intelligent, I can do no wrong, and therefore it's happened for a reason. This is wrong. Energy is not intelligent. Energy takes the path of least resistance. Consciousness is intelligent. Energy takes the path of least resistance. So if the path of least resistance is harmful, think of lightning. Lightning, if it hits a tree, will burn it. And this is what many facilitators do. They burn the person, metaphorically. And in some cases, the people that receive it feel as though they're burning inside. And it might not be from a facilitator. It might be from them waking this energy up themselves. And when that happens, you have to stop feeling the energy. You have to ground yourself. Some people's ability is great, but they will eventually run into problems with this. And there are many advanced teachers that talk about this, and they can only go to a certain level because they are still dealing with this problem themselves. To the point that they even say their body, there was so much energy in their body that their body started wasting away because they couldn't handle this, because they were still stuff to heal. And those people, from their experiences and their internal programs, therefore saying, oh, well, if I can't do it, no one else can do it. And therefore what other people claim is wrong and false and fake, and be careful, and because they can't do it. That's okay. They can't do it. They're not ready. Others that are very ready, but they understand that energy is intelligent, rather it takes the path of least resistance and can cause trouble. So be careful even at the lowest level of Pranapat. You can run into trouble. There are many people that do not know what they're doing. We move on. Shaktipat. Shakti is Kundalini energy. Prana is not Kundalini energy. We have to say it is Kundalini Prana or Prana Kundalini these days because there is so much false information out there. Kundalini activation is Kundalini energy. It's not, it's Prana. Therefore, it's Kundalini Prana. But Kundalini Prana is not Shakti. Shakti is Kundalini energy. There are different schools, and this is where it gets very confusing. There are 3 different Shaktis. One is Prana, one is the sensual energy, and one is Kundalini Shakti. Again, because there are many different schools talking about this from many different places around the world, and even within India, there are many different schools talking about this in different ways. It gets very confusing. What is not confusing, what is very simple, is Kundalini energy rises from the root in the spine, from that jed pillar, from the coccyx. It's not the sensual energy that flows through the genitals to the coccyx and up the spine. It is not the prana that can flow through the entire body, but can also be concentrated within the spine. They're different. People who say Kundalini Shakti is just prana have not experienced Kundalini Shakti. Kundalini Shakti is described for a reason as cosmic, not life force energy. It's a different frequency. Compare it to light and sound. Yes, they're both energies. Yes, they're both frequencies. But light and sound, from a human perspective, and we are human, are very, very different energies, are they not? And even that metaphor doesn't get close to describing the difference. So Shakti is this energy through Shaktipat. And when I say Shaktipat or Pranapat, we're talking about the transmission. So I work with people online. We do energy transmissions. We have the Pranapat, the level of Prana. We have Shaktipat that we hear. There are gurus that transmit. I also do Shaktipat. This is transmitting this cosmic energy to you to awaken your spine. I'm not the only person that does Shaktipat. And then we have, after Shaktipat, we have an even higher level that is very rarely talked about because most people don't understand it. Some mix it with Shaktipat. They don't distinguish it. Fair enough. But most don't even actually know what exists. They only know there is the transference of the Shakti energy. They never get to the third, the highest level. And this is Shivapat. This is Shiva. This is connection to consciousness. This is what they talk about in the scriptures of the understanding of the universe, the knowledge of everything, the way it is translated into English. There are very few people on the planet that do Shivapat. To reach Shivapat, you must use Shakti to be able to do it safely. And even when I say safely, I do not mean it is 100% safe. I mean it is in the safest way for your personal internal consciousness to not get into conflict with the universal consciousness. The people that go straight to connect to what we can call non-dualistic ideologies and understandings will have a very difficult time if they do not connect to the energy. Can it be done? Yes. Will it take 30 years? Yes, to get there. And with that said, hopefully by now you've understood we are talking about activating the energies and then awakening, Kundalini awakening. How long does a Kundalini awakening take? Not long. People who say, I've been on my Kundalini awakening for years, they're not on a Kundalini awakening. They are having perhaps energetic experiences, brief glimpses of consciousness. And this over many, many years isn't called Kundalini awakening, it's called a spiritual awakening. Where does that get to? Well, it takes a lifetime, doesn't it? A Kundalini awakening via Shaktipat and Shivapat. After one has prepared through prana, moving the energy. This can be through decades of different types of yoga, if you wish, through lots of shadow work, through everyone must do shadow work. But you can take a decade, you can take 2 decades to do this. There are many systems that prepare you for this. Kundalini activation prepares you for this. Kundalini yoga prepares you for this. Kriya yoga prepares you for this. Many things prepare you for it. They don't do it. Don't get me wrong here. when I say they don't do it. There can be people, and they are few and far between, that if they have the right level of preparation, it will happen for them as if by magic, spontaneously. This is very different to what many people talk about these days. I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. I got stuck in. That is called a life crisis. Not a Kundalini awakening. That is a life crisis. And that life crisis, we could call an extreme stuck dark night of the soul, which is what a life crisis is, could have been brought about by someone giving a pranic session, Pranapat. Yes, totally possible. And someone in that state, it's not Kundalini awakening. That is a crisis brought about by something, some sort of healing, some sort of breaking that wasn't accepted by the ego, by the program. There are many people that it's called midlife crisis. They get to a point that they realize that they've been programmed, they've been banging their head against a brick wall for long enough in the system. Then they get to a point where their ego is trying to keep them safe. And their ego has figured out that this program is broken, something is wrong. All I do is listen to people and follow rules and get up and go to work and come home and nothing's happening. And days are ticking by and I'm missing something. And the ego, trying to keep themselves, breaks them about midlife. The midlife crisis is happening sooner and sooner and sooner these days. There are many things that are happening sooner and sooner and sooner, thanks to the speed of life, thanks to dopamine, doom scrolling. It's pushing everything, accelerating everything. More of these hormones accelerate everything. To the point that a midlife crisis used to be for people 40s, 50s, 60s. It's now happening to people in their 20s. That's not a Kundalini awakening. Pranapat for healing. It is probably the hardest bit to do, the most dangerous bit to do, most risky bit to do, if you haven't done preliminary work on that program. Because the ego is going to try and keep you safe. So first thing, shadow work. Once you got back to zero, then you can move into true Shaktipat. There are many Shaktipat workers that say they do Shaktipat, and all they're doing is Pranapat. And this isn't because they can't do Shaktipat. It's because the person isn't ready for Shaktipat. They need to heal first. When I'm working with my clients, it's first of all, we prepare. We do prana, we do pranic work, whether it's pranapat, whether we're working internally by ourselves, whether we're working the essential energy by ourselves, building these things, getting it flowing. Once that has all happened, once the fears have been released, once the desires have been released, once the egoic ideologies have been released, what yoga says we have to release before we activate the first 3 chakras. That is when we can go higher. That is when we can go into true Shaktipat. Once that bond, once that connection has been made, that Shakti energy has risen, still not a Kundalini awakening, that is a Kundalini Shakti rising. We can then move into Shivapat. Not everybody is ready for Shivapat. Some people it takes years to be ready for it. Others have worked decades to get there, and others naturally can get there very quickly. It just depends on the person. Everyone is different depending on that external program. And then when finally we receive that descent of grace, that connection to consciousness, this is when we understand everything. The thing I have not mentioned yet is the Merkaba, the light body. The light body can be initiated partially through Shakti. For some people, even through Prana. But it will not be fully balanced until Shakti has descended. Then the light body becomes fully active. And this is when you can go to, we could say, Merkabapat, a touch of light body energy. Do not misunderstand. If someone gives you light body energy, as I do in group sessions, this doesn't mean to say you jump all the other steps. It just means you are receiving from the highest level to work through the other steps. So things can evolve gently and softly. Shaktipat comes before Shivapat. Everybody has their steps, everybody has their stages. Not everybody becomes a Formula One driver, not everyone becomes a professional tennis player, not everyone becomes a barrister or a judge. It's not for everybody. But everybody can seek it. Everybody can go further. Everyone can get better at playing tennis. Start receiving some sessions. I offer weekly sessions, online, in groups. I offer it at a ridiculously cheap price. Right now, it's about $12 a month, which is the price of a cup of coffee per session because it's weekly sessions where people who do something the equivalent, they will be charging, and I have charged in the past, and I may charge again in the future, at least $180 for the month. But right now, for you, I offer it for as many people to receive it as possible. 12, that's it. Go to theawakenenergy.com to sign up. If you wish to come and take a training, work through the Prana, receive Shakti, and possibly perhaps even receive Shiva if you are ready within the time it takes. Of course, Shiva is the advanced level. Only for people that fully integrate the Shakti, which takes time. It's not a one-day thing. We work, we practice, we rise Shakti. Shakti needs to be integrated. Only then can we go on to the advanced Shiva. Understand everything. That too is at theawakenenergy.com. Also, if you do not wish to do that, you just like the information of these videos, subscribe to the channel for more. Hit that like button, share it with people, leave a comment. Because the more interactions you have, the more it helps you receive more of this to your home feed. It also helps it be spread to more people. And so the more I can create for you. See you in another.